All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's getting to that point of year in Dubai where you can actually stand outside for at least a couple minutes without suffocating. So I'm really excited about that. But that aside, what today's video is going to be on is me coaching and giving feedback to one of my clients from a recent role play that we did just last week. And this client's only been in the training for about 30 days by now, and he's had a lot of progress and a lot of development. But I've noticed that a lot of you guys are more curious and interested about the sales training and all that type of stuff on the YouTube channel. As I saw, one of the most recent videos got some good attention as well. So, as you guys know, I talk about and advocate for networking and job acquisition being about 70 to 80% of the equation, although it's not a supplement for sales skills, as I talk about all the time. I actually have sold for a long time, and I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about when it comes to sales skills and training. So I'm going to post this in this recording here. Hopefully you find it valuable, insightful, and enjoyable. If you do, definitely throw a like down below or comment, just not for the algorithm's sake, but just so I understand that this is more content that you want to see more of, and I will continue to post it. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
Flows too fast, I would say.
Okay. So your first question is, how do you go back and get what you need from a question without saying the same question again?
Yeah, essentially. Like, how do you loop back on it, still sound genuine, interested without, yeah, basically just repeating the same thing?
You want to learn the idea of what's called conversational flexibility. So conversational flexibility is basically the practice of being able to say the same thing but a different way. Because you will have multiple times, like all of you will have multiple times where you ask a question, the prospect doesn't give you the answer that you want, but you need the prospect to tell themselves and you that answer. So you need to go back and ask the question a different way,
Yeah,
right?
kind of. I remember just to butt in, but I remember when we are on one of our calls, I said twice, time for a change, possibly then. And you was like, instead of saying that second time, instead of saying time for a change, say something's important for you to do something then. It's
Yeah,
basically means the same, but it's not saying the same thing.
bang on. Yeah, so conversational flexibility. And again, that can be through questions, that can be through, certain statements. If you say time for a change, like 5 times throughout the call, it's going to sound weird, right? So again, time for a change possibly. So it's quite important for you to do something then. Two variations of that same, I guess, transition question. Um, so we'll do an exercise today, practicing conversational flexibility, but I just want to make sure that I answer everything before we do that. But that is primarily what you're trying to do. You're just basically practicing opening those neural connections in your mind, in your brain is the best way I view it as okay, I need to say the same question again without repeating exactly what I said. How do I do that on the spot? That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And then like do it without guiding the prospect to the answer you want them to give.
What do you mean by guiding them? Do it without guiding them.
Yeah, like if they say something like, "Oh, like we have to change because I'm not making enough money, I can't spend time." Then you kind of circle back and you say, you said you can't spend any more, or you need more money so you can spend more time with your family. Like, is that the reason why you're X, Y, and Z? Just kind of leading them to an answer versus getting them to expand on their answer. I'll have to send you a call recording so you can see.
Can you try asking it one more time? See if I can get it.
Yeah, like I don't really have a specific example I can give you like from a recent call that I remember, but like I think I probably lead the prospects too much when I ask the question. Does that make sense?
Right. What do you mean? Like, what is the problem with leading?
I just feel like I would get more out of them if I didn't coach them so much on like kind of where to go with the conversation.
And how do you coach them on where to go with the conversation?
Again, I can show you a call recording. It'll probably make more sense. You'll be able to pick it apart easier.
If you were to give me an example, like right now, like how do you coach people? Uh, sorry, what was the word you used? How do you direct their answers?
Yeah,
You
you
lead.
lead them a little bit.
Okay. How do you lead them? Just give me an example of like how you would lead them.
Yeah, so like maybe someone says like, I want to make more money for like X, Y, and Z. And I'll say something like, okay, because you want to make more money for X, Y, Z, is that why you're here? Or something like that. Versus asking like, why is it so important that you want to make more money or something else?
Got you. So you're more like what you're doing is you're parroting instead of probing and clarifying the right way. Is
That
kind of
sounds better. Yeah, that's a better way to say it. Yeah.
yeah. So parroting is like when salespeople will like, yeah, so from what you're saying, and then you repeat what they say. Um, typically in general, I would really suggest to avoid that because it's just a very salesy thing to do. You know, for example, if we were to go have a beer at the pub, I don't know if that's an Australian thing or what, but just like a beer at the pub, right? Or like we're going to have dinner or lunch, something like that. And I speak to you as a friend and I go, so Rob, from what I'm hearing you're saying is X, Y, and Z. And you're like, yeah, that's what I said. Like, you're thinking like, why are you repeating me? It's a weird thing that salespeople do. So to catch it earlier on, just prevent yourself from repeating what they like. If what I'm hearing you saying is X, Y, and Z is exactly what they said, unless it's in reference to, the ideal solution, for example. So it's like so the training, the community, the one-on-one support, like those are important to you. Like that's fine in that context, but like anywhere else in the sales call of like what I'm hearing you say is X, Y, and Z, you never want to do that. So just the moment that you feel that need and the urge to like pirate them, um, what I'd recommend is just to hesitate for half a second or a second or even a few seconds just to kind of get the muscle going and then just think, how can I clarify and probe here? So
Perfect.
let's say, for example, they say, yeah, I want to get the money for X, Y, and Z. Okay, so like why is that important to you? Or why is X, Y, Z important to you? Right? Just think, how can I ask a question here rather than parroting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the pause will help do that.
Yeah, for sure. And don't feel terrible for pausing. Like it's fine. Unless it's like a 10-second pause and you just like sit there looking at them, you're probably gonna look like a bit of a serial killer.
Yeah.
Um,
Just get up and leave the call, walk
yeah,
away.
exactly. Yeah,
Come
it's
back
just
in an
like I
hour.
have to really ponder on what you just
Yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah. Give me a minute. I gotta go
Yeah,
soul searching.
I need to process that profound statement of yours.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think just take like a second or two before you respond and just take a step back so you prevent yourself from parroting. But think that word parroting because it's probably not
okay.
the most ideal. Uh, no one wants to be a parrot, I guess. So it's just like, all right. So to stop myself from parroting, let me just probe and clarify instead of just saying what they said back to me.
Thank you.
No worries. Great question. Um, cool. So I think I answered both those. Jake, you had a question?
Yeah, it was similar to the flexibility in the conversation. One thing I'm getting stuck on is the consequence phase. So when I'm asking people, they usually say something like I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm like super driven, I'm motivated. And then I like rephrase the question. I was like, yeah, like I appreciate you seem like a really driven, motivated guy. But let's just say if nothing happened, like what would happen then? And then I still like just by changing it, I'm still getting the same answer. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna let that happen. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, can't get what I want from this phase. And I'm kind of going around in circles.
Yeah. Very common. Um, You could say that, Fraser, but that there's a lot of ways you can go about consequence to really get the answer that you're looking for. So have you ever heard of the Usain Bolt analogy, Jake?
I have heard it a few times. But yeah, remind me of it again.
Okay. So let's just say you tell me after a consequence question, like just be the prospect and just say like I won't let that happen.
Yeah, yeah, I won't let that happen, man. Like I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Yeah, I understand that. But I think it's very important for all of our clients to address the flip side of the equation, the flip side of the coin. Because have you ever heard of the guy named Usain Bolt, fastest guy on the planet?
Yeah, of course.
Right. And right now, Usain Bolt is breaking records. He is the best at what he does. And we have to very logically and rationally think, what is Usain running towards? Money, fame, status, women, right? This is what he's chasing, right? But what's most important for all of our clients is not only to address what you're running towards, but also what you're running from. Always running from something, right? I have a theory that if we set a wild animal behind Usain, he's probably going to break some records, right? He's probably going to run a little bit faster than he already does. Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
Right, because he's running for survival and not just for what he wants, but he's also running from something. It's a very different run, right? Like a kid running towards an ice cream truck versus someone running out of a burning building, right? There is a different level of tenacity. There is a different level of perseverance. There's a different level of wanting to actually push that person towards where they want to go. If you're jumping out of a burning building, you're running towards survival and not just what you want, right? You're running from something, from literally dying in a burning building. So for you, man, what do you feel like it is that you're running from? Like, what do you feel like could possibly happen? Like the real reality of it, if you just stay where you're at and nothing changes and you do nothing, like what would actually happen there?
Yeah, I
So
think for
usually you get
yeah.
the answer before. I think 99.9% of the chance that's always worked.
Mm, okay. Yeah,
Because
I
we,
think
yeah,
yeah, I think because one thing, because where I was in fitness before, it was like really easy to get that pain out. But now I'm
yeah.
speaking to guys who are like super dialed in with their health, like they're pretty dialed in, like in most areas of their life. So they're just, and they do have a bit of an ego. So they're just listen, man, like I'm gonna do this regardless with your help or not.
Who are you selling again?
It's like fitness business coaching. So it's people that have like clients already, like in-person online coaching clients, and they just want to scale.
Right. So if the consequence isn't hitting enough, and it's a very common recurring issue, it's in your inability to stretch the gap in discovery of them realizing how far of a gap it actually is between where they are now and where they want to go. Because when you use a languaging, they already got clients, they just want to scale. Not really, right? Like they're working with in-person clients, they can't scale, they're working shit ton of hours, they're not really actually making the money that they want. They don't know
Mm.
how to scale. They're not making anywhere near where they want to be. There are problems. You just have to expand the gap in the discovery process for the consequence to actually make sense to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to like a sufficient answer and the consequence, like what in your eyes, what would be a sufficient answer to then move on?
I don't think, as I've said to a couple guys on a certain account, I don't think you need to get someone to tell you that they're going to kill themselves, right? Which is what a lot of people seem to be looking for. I need them to be like, oh my God, I'm going to die without this training program. You don't need to go to that level. But for me, is some form of addressing a potential risk of failure. Like when they tell you, no, that's not going to happen, I'll figure out either way. That is non-bio language. So it needs to be some sort of addressing of like, okay, this is what could happen if I do nothing. if nothing changes. It would suck. It would not be good. I wouldn't be where I want to be. I wouldn't make the money that I want. I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to do that. Like just some type of addressing of failure, because if we let them go without that and we keep it very loose, there's very little chance that they're going to have urgency to move forward.
What about stay the same?
Stay the same. Are you willing to settle for that?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, whose choice is it if you stay with that reality or not? You might. And then you move on to your presentation. That's my sufficient answers for what I'd be
Okay.
looking.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, if they say, yeah, stay the same, and you say, are you willing to settle for that? Can you probe on that more? Like, why are you not willing to settle for that?
Yeah, of course. Why not? There's no rules. Yeah, sure. Why not? Because you can, right? Why not stay the same? Right? You've been doing in-person coaching and training for the last 3 years. Why change? Why do something different? Why now?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Again, as you start to really nail down the stage of the process, you'll start to become even more flexible of like, you just like learn the rules of the game and then you can start doing whatever the fuck you want and just kind of riffing and freestyling. So learn the principles of what you're trying to do, of like what you're looking for consequence and this and that and that. And then once you get that nailed down, it's just like, what if they say this? It's like, we'll just say that. You'll start to pick it up. Like once you get the reps in and once you understand the really fundamental core and basics and principles, that's when you can be more flexible.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
No worries. Cool. All right, let's do a bit of roleplay training. Rob, do you have a go at discovery?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, what did you want to practice? What do you struggle with?
I would say probably like the back end of discovery, which is like cost of inaction. And
Okay.
then yeah, just getting and just probing and clarifying more throughout the process.
Okay. All right, cool. Who wants to be the prospect?
I'll be
Okay.
whatever, I ain't fussed.
Who's going?
I can do prospect.
All right, cool. So what I'm looking for, Rob, is just probing and clarifying and consequence.
Yeah.
All right,
Sweet.
cool. What do you
Do you
want to
need-
give context of your selling?
I'm selling Airbnb arbitrage training. So we basically teach you how to start your own Airbnb business.
Yeah, I know
Make-
what it is. I know what it is. Yeah.
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it. Cool. Awesome. Jonas, right?
Yep, Jonas.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, Jonas, welcome to the call. Thanks for joining.
Yep. Happy to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. It looks like you booked on the calendar about possibly getting some outside help with starting your Airbnb business, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Nice. That's exciting. The first part of this call, it's pretty straightforward. It's really just for us to kind of understand a bit more about your background, what you've been doing, what you're looking to do, to see if we can actually help. Because there are some certain people which we can't help. You know what I mean, right?
Yep, makes sense.
Nice. So I'm curious, Jonas, when you were talking to Hamza the other day on your call, what was it about what you guys were discussing that, kind of made you want to go to the next step and book a call with us?
Well, really, I would say I've been in like kind of traditional real estate for quite a while now, and I kind of wanted to go that Airbnb road because it seems pretty profitable from what I've been seeing. So
Yeah.
I guess I was looking around for some help, like first at YouTube, and then I found you guys and thought I might just look in and see if this might be the right thing for me to get that business started.
Yeah. Yeah. No, awesome. That makes sense to me. I guess like with what you're doing, with the traditional real estate, would you mind walking me through what that looks like?
Yeah, so I've two units right now in Berlin. I would like to go and move them from like kind of traditional renting to an Airbnb. So that's kind of my current goal. And then maybe even like in the future, like get some units in other countries which are like more Airbnb friendly and like more touristy. So yeah, but that would be my first goal, those two units. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, transition the 2 units over to Airbnb. Now,
Yep.
what's the reason for that? Like, are you not earning good cash flow right now, or are you looking for more, or what's the situation there?
Well, it's fine. It's fine, but it's, it could be more like I want to scale, I want to make more money. That's really the only reason why I'm looking to move over to Airbnb. Yeah.
Makes sense. Aside from like just the 2 units you have, do you do anything else for work?
Um, yeah, I'm working as a salesman
Okay, nice. How long?
for Volkswagen. Yeah.
Nice. How long you been doing that for?
For about 5 years now.
Okay. Would you say like you're trying to transition out of your job and go full-time real estate, or really what's the ideal situation here aside from earning more money on those 2 properties you have?
Well, to be honest, if you would have asked me like three years ago, like I was pretty happy with my job, but right now um I've not been getting so many sales anymore, and like the commission kind of dried up. So like I'm definitely looking to transition out at some point, like not really right away, but when I have like enough cash flow to sustain my current lifestyle, I would go all
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's crazy, man. I'm sorry to hear that. How is that commission drying up? How's that affected you?
Well, it's not been like too catastrophic, but I've had to do like some cuts like here and there, like not been investing so
Mm,
much. Like I've kind
mm.
of wanted to have like a third unit already, and it's been kind of moving, a bit slower. It's like it's not like that I'm like on the street or anything, like I'm not,
Yeah,
but I would like to make like some progress again. So
right. Make some progress. Like you feel like you're not making much progress?
yeah, I'm pretty much stagnant like for the last, 1.5 years, 1 year.
1.5 years. Why haven't you done anything about this before now?
Well, honestly, I just didn't really know how to really, make more money. Could have, I guess, work more hours and anything. But the thing is
Mm,
like the my company had like some supply chain issues, so I couldn't really, fix it myself because I wasn't even allowed
right,
to sell that much because they had, issues on there.
right.
And yeah,
Okay. That makes sense. Like, what do you think that's cost you, over the last 1.5 years, not merely making much progress, kind of being, I think you said stagnant?
stagnant. Yeah. Well, it probably cost me my third unit. Like if I would have
Mm,
made more money, like I could have probably already like invested into a third unit, but that's not possible at the moment. So yeah.
yeah. And like, I guess with everything going on, are you willing to settle for that for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the same position you're in now?
I mean, no, obviously not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be looking for help, right?
Makes sense.
Mm.
Awesome. So possibly time to make a change.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But what if you don't though? Like, what if you just keep doing what you've been doing? Because you said, you haven't made any drastic lifestyle changes. It's just that you're not really progressing. So why not just keep doing what you're doing?
Well, I would like to have a family, like in the not so distant future. So I would like to like make some more money so I could go and finance everything in that
Yeah.
regard. So that's really my
Yeah.
main reason why I don't want to stay stagnant, because like I want my kids to go to like good private schools and not having to go through the same bullshit like I when I was going to public school. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really commendable. And I suppose too, you being a father, you being a figure in their life, you don't want them to,
I'm
of
not a father yet, like in the future then for my future
course,
kids.
yeah. But
Yeah.
you're saying you're planning, right? So when you
Yeah.
do have kids, you
Yeah.
probably won't want your kids to look at you as some guy that's not making progress in life, but you want to actually lead them
Yeah.
by example.
Yeah.
Makes
that's
sense.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, Jonas, based on what I'm hearing, I think like what we do would actually work for you. With your permission, I can go through like a short presentation to show you how we might be able to help you start earning more money from those 2 units, so you can actually put yourself in a better position to start your family, have that extra income to scale into more units, and really just get that financial freedom you're looking for.
All right.
Yep, sounds good.
Let's cut it there. So this is like your discovery, like you're starting to get it really quickly, but it's just extremely condensed. Like that's the best way I can describe it to you. It's like the structure is good, but we need to flesh it out a lot more. And there's just a lot of big crucial parts that you're missing. It's like having a 25-30 minute conversation in the space of 10 minutes, which is good. You're efficient, but like as of like the sales call that we reviewed, what was it like last week or the week previous? It's way too fast and way too short. This is good. Like again, this is great because these are really easy fixes. It'll just take a little bit of time to get used to like doing a longer discovery process. And what I've got a bunch of feedback for you, but based off what you did there. But what I strongly recommend is watching the BizOp call that I've got in the portal. I think I recommend that to you last week or week previous. Watch that over 1 million times and you'll start to get it. Like you'll see what an actual fleshed out conversation should look like. Because you're getting it and improvements have been made in like the last week or two. But it's just your conversation is like it should be this, but it's like this.
Yeah, I noticed that. I just feel like I'm getting some information. I'm just moving along, and I feel like maybe it's not enough time for the prospect to really get emotional about the consequences and the result and all that stuff. So I'm not digging deep enough.
Sort of, but you like the conversation just like it feels condensed.
Yeah.
Like it feels condensed. I would strongly recommend just taking a look at like every other sales call like I have in the portal because you'll start to get a sense of what I mean by the conversation, the dialogue you're having is like condensed, whereas like it's not to the point where we need to have a long conversation, but we're just missing a lot of certain
Makes
things.
sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So
I'll watch that over. I seen on your calls that they're like 25, 30 minutes of just talking back and forth, like 2 or 3 minute presentation, and then just collecting the card details.
yeah, exactly right. It's very specific in the condensation. I don't know if that's a word, but in condensing it, it's like very specific, and you're not you're a couple weeks to 30, 60 days to being really good. It's just like you get the structure, you know where you're going, a little bit of what you're doing, and you've started to interpret a lot from the feedback I've given you and the calls you probably watched from me. But we just need to flesh out the process a little bit more clearly, which I recommend just watching those calls and you'll start to get what I mean by it. But good little rep there. Jonas, what do you feel like he did well and what do you think he can improve?
I would say, I guess he also went through like pretty fast. Like he didn't really like dig really deeper into the pain. Like I kind of gave him that like I want to like be a better father for my future children then, so I can like provide better with my resources and everything. But I guess maybe like if it was like similar in the real call, like there still might be like some objections, some trust objections, because I don't know, like we didn't do the presentation and everything, so I like couldn't really tell, I guess.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. It was very quick. And I didn't dig deep enough into those few points you brought up, which could be gold mine.
Yeah, I think you could have just like followed up with like a few more questions and like dug deeper, and then I think it would have been I would have been more aware of my pain maybe or something like that. I don't know.
Sure. Good. Okay. Well, I've got my list of feedback. Here we go. So don't say thanks for joining. Why? Because they're there to talk to you. They're there to get your help. Just don't say thanks for joining. I know it might feel polite, but just in a sales context, makes zero sense to do so. Don't say thanks for joining. I would never say that on a sales call. Not to be like, oh, I'm the big man, but it's just like sales is very much about status. And it's just like, thanks for joining. It's like you're on the call with me. Like you're here to get my help, right? That's exactly how you should be thinking. Um, Slow down your cadence. So your tempo is a little bit too fast. I think I mentioned to you like last week or the week before, your tone is really good. That's the good part because that takes a long time to get good. So your tone is actually great. I would just work on your cadence and your tempo a lot more. So the best thing in reference to this is like, if you think that you're going slow, go slower. This is the best quote to kind of remember for cadence and tempo. If you think that you're going slow, go slower. Like for example, like the tempo of like setting the intention for the call, or like I guess the frame is now really the first part of the call, or the first part of this call is really more for us together just to find out a little bit more about your background, like what you guys have done in the past, what you're doing now. And then really like what I would say is what is exactly that you're looking for, just to see if we can even help you in the first place, because sometimes, well, there are just some certain people that there's not much we can really do for them. You know what I mean by that, right? So just slowing it down even further, it's just going to sound way better and it'll come off better. Do you know the reason why we would like slow down and stutter? Just so you understand the intention behind it.
No, no, not 100%.
To not sound so scripted, I think, was it?
That's a
No.
part of it. Yes,
No.
that definitely is a part of it. Um, but the real main intention, or scripted is a big part of it. But another big part of the reasoning behind that is that we're getting the prospect to actually think about their question. Think about the question that we're asking them and think about giving a detailed answer. Same as if someone walks up to you in a clothing store and says, "Can I help you?" The first knee-jerk reaction you say is, "No, no, I'm good, thanks. All good, no worries." Right? That question is like you just don't want to be sold and you want to push someone away. But if we slow down the question, like usually it's like, "Hey man, can I help you?" If you slow down that question and you broke it up a little bit, it may not always give you the response of "go away, I'm all good, no worries," because it's a social cue for me to get you to think more about your answer, if that makes sense. So if I'm going to slow down my question and purposely give thought and intention through my pace and my tempo, you're going to take that as a social cue to actually think about your answer. And more detailed answers leads to more sales. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Um,
Huge
what would,
difference in your
yeah,
pace versus my pace.
yeah,
Huge difference.
yeah. And I would probably would be way better doing it now as opposed to sales calls in the portal because those are very old, 1, 2, 3 years old. So obviously calls, you can watch back call recordings and just watch how I do it now. But yeah, it makes a very big impact, a very big difference. I noticeably saw a huge change when I went from just asking a question, just like blat, to having purpose, like strategically placed stutters and pausing and slowing down my cadence. Way better answers and way better responses. Um, what was the main problem that he had? Do you remember?
The main problem, as in like what I was trying to solve for the prospect.
No, like what was, yeah, well, yeah. Like what was the main problem that he said?
He didn't have enough income from his career as a salesperson for Volkswagen,
Right.
and he wanted to get more income to basically open more doors, better family life in the future, invest in more things, get his time, freedom, all that.
And also a bit like stop being stagnant as well. Like those two things, I would say.
Right, yeah, and
Yeah.
progress and
Yeah.
start progressing again.
If you were to simplify it down to the like absolute core, like what is the absolute problem in one word?
Money.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And so in the offer that you're selling, that's what the problem is going to recurringly be. Money, time, freedom. Like these are like the three main things it's going to be essentially focused around. And that's all you're looking for every single time. Like, what is the problem? Like, what's the problem? What's causing it? How long and what is the impact of the problem? But very specifically, that's what you're looking for in that phase that you're kind of tweaking around for a little bit. So it's just important to like identify that. Okay, the problem is he wants to make more money. That's it. That's all I need to understand. Now, if you're going to expand more on that, like like, how do you probably clarify that? Well, I want to make more money. Or earlier on, he said, well, my commission's dried up. Can you give me an example of what you mean by that? Because we kind of understood, but not really, right? My commission dried up. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, there's been some changes in the marketing and management structures, and I haven't really been able to earn the money that I used to. Well, how long have you felt that way for? Well, how long has that been going on? Well, about like the last year or so. Okay. Has that had like an impact on your ability to grow your portfolio? Or has that had an impact on X, Y, and Z? So it's always problem. Like, why is that so important to you now? And how long? So how long has that been going on? So problem, how long, now? And it just expands it. That's the best way you want to think about it. So problem, identify the problem. Why now? How long? And you can go either or. So be conversationally flexible. Like, well, how long has that been going on? Or you can ask more money, like, why is that so important to you, like now though? Depending on the conversation, either or is going to come first or second. How long important to you now? Important to you now. Well, how long have you felt that way for? Make sense?
Yeah, that's clear.
And then you can just transition and bridge. You can say, so time for a change possibly, or it's quite important for you to do something then. Oh, it is. And then
Yeah.
you just go into your next question, whatever that is. Um, good. Don't say, wow, that's crazy. Specifically around the problem that he had. But that's crazy because the reason why is the prospect is going to push that down. So what you blow up, they're going to push down, whereas if what you push down, they're going to blow up. Same thing as like when you make
Yeah.
a joke on the call of like, oh, X, Y, and Z influencer is fantastic, whatever it is. And you say, well, I mean, they're not that cool though. They'll go, no, 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 like they're amazing and so on and so on and so on. They'll upplay it. So when you downplay yourself, people upplay. And when you when you upplay, people downplay. So you definitely don't want to say, wow, that's crazy. Because you notice Jonas's answer immediately after of, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Hasn't affected me that much, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's really to identify. It's just like that's what a prospect will say most times when you say these things. And I know this because I did that years ago, where I before like asking a question like has that had an impact in X, Y, and Z form. Um, I had one of my mentors review one of my call recordings, and I said, that sounds pretty intense, man. And then I asked the question. He's like, no, 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 no. Like, he's like, don't do that. Like, you never get a good answer of doing so. Make sense?
Yeah.
Um, Good question on what do you think that's cost you? I think that was a good question that you used there. Um, and I was gonna ask, why did you ask, are you willing to settle for that? But I know the reason you ask it is because you literally condensed your start to finish of the call like that.
Yeah.
I was like, why
Yeah.
did you ask that in that phase? But that answers my question already. And then the last thing was, you had a mix up on being a father. I think I heard that there. Was it like you assumed that he was a father, or you
I
heard
think
me?
it was a bit of
No,
a was a bit of a
I
misunderstanding, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't. He said it. I understood what he meant, but I didn't phrase back what I wanted to say to him properly. And then
Okay.
he's like, "No, I'm actually not a father. I just wanted to clarify that." And I was like, "No, what I meant was this." So that was just the way I repeated back what I wanted to say. I said it wrong.
Okay, that's fair enough. Because what I was going to say is just be careful in assuming.
Yeah.
And always clarify if need be. So that's fine. If it was just a miscommunication on both ends, then that's fine. But just that aside, just be um super wary or super careful of assuming things in sales. It's very, very important. Like one word to one person is going to mean something totally different. And it's a little bit besides the point, but it's important to understand that more money is very different to a billionaire to a normal nine to fiver. And are you going to speak to a billionaire? Probably not. But again, it's very different things to different people. So you really want to clarify on the meaning like very specifically, and you want to be very clear on what the person means if you are unsure and they're using a word that seems open to interpretation and it can mean a million different things. That makes sense. So like a way that you can use to probe and clarify that is more money. That means different things to different people. Like what does it exactly mean to you though? You can use the same example for like more leads. Um, More leads, I mean, more leads means different things, to different businesses. Like, what's that specifically mean to you guys, though? Right?
It'd be
Right?
like a health and fitness example of that. Someone trying to
Um,
lose weight or get healthy or
like
something.
losing more weight, that can mean different things to different people, right? Like, what is more weight for you, though?
Yeah.
So that's usually a good way. There's also like a really good way of probing clarifying, which is called mirroring. So all that you simply do is you just basically mirror the word that they said, and they will take that as, like we described earlier, a social cue on expanding on the word. So if you say like a word and I say the word with a question mark back to you, you're going to take that as a social cue to then expand on that. For example, I'd like to make more money. More money. Or I'd like to lose more weight. More weight. Pretty simple. So you can use both of those variations to probe and clarify to get the specifics.
I think like a call previously, like either last week or the week before, you mentioned someone to someone else about not doing too much mirroring. Like if you do it 2 or 3 times, you're just showing a pattern and it just sounds fake.
Yep, correct. So use it as a tool and just be aware of like not not using it too much. So again, maybe use it once or twice in the call. Don't use it as a parrot and just start saying it again and again and again and again. Same thing as like there's like 10 20 different 20 plus different tools you can use in a call. Use them once or twice, maybe twice, but usually once. That's why with time you're going to accumulate more and more and more and more and more different little techniques and strategies you can supplement and just start to fit into the boxes of the principles. So that just comes with time and experience, but understanding that the fundamental cores and principles is going to be the most key thing here. All makes sense.
It'll make sense in time. Time and more reps. It'll click.
Beautiful. Does it make sense to everyone else? Like, does anybody have any questions on all the statements there?